So how can you protect your collection from water damage? That's something that a lot of you might not think of unless you live in a flood zone. I've always intentionally not bought houses in flood zones or areas that were near creeks because I was paranoid about flooding. So I'm BrickTsar. This channel here is all about Lego, but I've collected so many other things. I got trains, kids' toys, die-casts, comic books. I have several thousand Lego sets. I have several million parts. I got almost 30,000 comic books, and I got a lot of other things. So we have done pretty good about not having any water damage, even when we've had heavy rains. In 2009, there was a heavy rain. I actually got a little bit of water in my basement, but nothing was damaged. What are things that you can do? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. I did have some things damaged this time around because of where the water came from and some shortcuts I took. But let me just go over it with you now. All right, so basically this is the culprit. Actually, that's not the culprit. That's the water line that goes to the culprit. That is the water line that goes to my refrigerator, the little water line for the ice maker. And I'm going to have to replace that water, the plastic piece. I'm not going to pull my refrigerator back out to show you that. But anyway, the plastic piece that connects was broken right at the spigot. And so it dripped from down there. And yesterday there was a bunch of stuff in this area. And so one thing I've done is I tried to put more valuable things in these types of containers so that even if it floods, even if water drains from above, it won't get it. Well, I actually had some of those containers here, but I had boxes on top of them. And all those boxes are wet and ruined. They kind of look like this. This was one of the boxes that was on it. This is one of my things I got from Vsauce, the Curiosity box. I never actually did it. I think you're actually supposed to mix this with water. So it did it on its own. And I had some other, this one I'm trying to save, but it's kind of ruined. This big loader box isn't too bad, but the other ones I just had to throw away. They were so bad. But yeah, they were on top. So the water came, there was actually a light fixture, different light fixture. I replaced the light fixture. It leaked onto the light fixture and then dripped all on this stuff right here. Plus it flooded upstairs, and then once it hit the ground, it went to different parts of the basement. Well, one thing I've done, if you've seen my series where we go through all the boxes, I got them P boxes. I don't know if you can see them. They're back there. These are things I've already inventoried, so they're behind all these boxes, but I've put them on these boards, and that saved me. The water actually didn't go under there, but it came up to the board, but it would have been a real disaster. If I had not put them on these boards, it would have been a disaster. Because that would have absorbed the water, and eventually it would have worked its way up to the box. And I have so many of the boxes, it would have taken me forever to move everything. But I got everything on those boards, and this is still a little wet right here. So these 2x4s are holding these boxes, which have the instruction manuals and model railroader magazines and comic books and things like that. Now this may get ruined. I don't know. It's a cheap, I mean, we were going to throw this away, but I use it for storage. So it did get a little wet there. But always elevate your stuff or put it in containers, and you'll save yourself a lot of grief. I've done this forever, but I've been moving stuff around a lot. So I did take some shortcuts, and the water did work its way around over here. And I had some boxes on the floor. There's Chrissy's toilet. And so this area got wet, but see, I had plastic containers on the bottom, boxes on the top. So everything was good. If these had been all just cardboard boxes, the bottom one at least would have got ruined. I did have one sitting over here. I've moved this around a little bit, and it got ruined. But the box got ruined, but the sets inside it were not too bad. So we didn't actually have a lot of high dollar damage. There were some things I was disappointed, like the big loader stuff. Oh, so I'm glad. These are some of the more expensive boxes, some of the bigger sets and stuff. And I'm glad I had moved it, because it used to be over in this area. And I moved it over here, but then when I was trying to move stuff around, I actually knocked this whole pile of boxes down onto the floor that was wet at the time. So some of these got a little bit of water, and then I'm scrambling to put them back up here. Oh, it was actually kind of funny. But while I'm over here, these are baseball cards. Look, I have them elevated. And you can't see it, but see, I even use this coffee table to elevate stuff. And the comic books are behind. I moved all these boxes back, and there's a couple of boxes that are on the floor right there. But the comic books themselves, I built shelves to hold them, and they're about 4 inches off of the ground, so they won't get wet, even though the basement floods. Because what's going to happen when it floods, it's usually just going to be an inch or two. Because usually it's a burst pipe. That's the most common thing, a burst pipe or a leaky or overflow. So it's not going to be like 2 feet of water. I mean, if you got 2 feet of water, it's, you know, you're in a hurricane or a massive flood and you got other problems. You need flood insurance. So these are all boxes I moved from that area back there. They were on top of things, but the water, again, was coming from the top, and I needed to move it out of the way. So I moved them over in this area, and then just like kind of piled stuff on my table. The basement's even messier than before. Oh, these were some of the boxes. I think, yes. So these were some of the vintage sets that were in one of the boxes that got wet on the outside. But these boxes seem to do okay. Yeah, I don't feel any moisture on them. I think some of these boxes got a little bit wet. Yeah, they got a little bit of water damage. Now this is a different area of the basement, but I moved everything over here. This box actually did not have a lid, and I had put this lid on it, and it turned out that was great because it had some other boxes stacked on. This was full of water, but none of it went in here where I got some paperwork and instructions and things. Now these instructions weren't so lucky. There was a box that was on top of everything that had these instructions and these bags. The box it was in is actually so ruined I threw it away. It was one of those Lego game boxes, but these are the space shuttle instructions. They're ruined, but like I said, nothing too majorly bad. I want to thank everybody for their thoughts they left on the previous video when I came home and I found this. I just uploaded something real quick. And my wife picked all the Bricklink orders. We actually had 5 Bricklink orders. She did those while I was doing some of this, and she finished them up this morning. But anyway, this could have been a lot worse, and I know other people have had much worse happen to them. I'm very fortunate that it wasn't any worse than it was. The biggest thing we got going now is drying out the carpet in my daughter's room. I got a vacuum shop vac blowing under the rug to dry out the mat in the area that got wet. And other than that, that's I think we're going to have everything taken care of. So I just thought I'd give you those tips. You know, keep everything elevated, keep more valuable stuff in plastic containers, and don't put things under pipes. Oh, that's the one thing I left out. Oh, the other thing is, if you have exterior doors that are on another floor or windows, it's good to not have things near that, because what can happen is if those leak, if water comes in through a door or through a window, it can hit the floor and then roll over and get that area. So that's another thing. I had that happen once. That's how I know. Had a door that leaked. But we did pretty good this time. We've yeah, just had a little bit of aggravation, lost a few instructions, some boxes. And the boxes, I mean, they're not things I had to keep anyway, so I think I'll live. Like I said, people have had worse things happen to you. So I hope these help you. These are things you actually should think about, especially if you have a basement. You don't want your stuff to get wet. If your hot water heater busts, your sink overflows, your toilet overflows. These are things you might not be thinking about. So regularly maintain your hot water heater. Make sure it's not building up stuff in the bottom of it that'll cause it to overload or whatever. And this plastic hose on my refrigerator was probably about 15 years old. I should have put a copper one in. I'm going to do that now. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. I will see you in the next one. I'm BrickTsar. I feel a lot better right now than I did last night.